This video is brought to you by Squarespace. If you're looking for a great place to create your website, go to squarespace.com/fastpassfacts to get 10% off your first Squarespace order. Disney has amazing movies full of lovable characters. Most of these characters appear regularly at the parks. But what happens when a movie isn't as popular as Disney would hope so? And more importantly, what happens to these characters? Well, sadly, they're around for a little while until they are completely retired, or their appearances become pretty rare at the parks. So today, we'll take a look at another rare Disney characters. Dick Tracy.
Tracy!
Dick Tracy started as a comic strip in the 1930s. 60 years later, Disney decided that Dick Tracy would be an amazing franchise, and they decided to release a Dick Tracy movie by Touchstone, a label under the Disney umbrella that produced films that Disney either didn't know whether or not would be successful, or that weren't quite on brand for the Disney name. During this time, Disney created a show called Dick Tracy starring in Diamond Double Cross, opening at the Theater of the Stars in Disney's MGM Studios in May 1990, and at Disneyland's Videopolis in June of that same year. The movie's characters also used to roam the parks and meet guests. These characters were pretty creepy because while the film used prosthetics to make the actors have a more cartoony appearance, the characters at the parks wore full latex masks that let the performers open their mouths. There was also a Dick Tracy-themed attraction planned for MGM Studios, but when the film wasn't spectacularly successful at the box office and legal issues involving the film rights prevented a sequel, the franchise was completely let go, along with the ride, both shows, and the walk-around characters.
All right, that's enough. I want them dead, both of them. I want this no-face dead, and I want Tracy.
And they were never seen at the parks again. The Black Cauldron. The Black Cauldron was Disney's 25th animated feature. This was the first Disney animated feature to be rated PG. The film followed the story of Terran, an assistant pig keeper with dreams of becoming a great warrior. His main job was to take care of Henwen, a magical oracular pig, who knows where the Black Cauldron, a magical cauldron that can bring the dead back to life, is. Terran needs to protect Hen from the evil Horned King, an evil lord that wants the cauldron to create a giant army of unstoppable soldiers.
Now I call on my army of the dead, the Cauldron born. Arise, my messengers of death. Our time has arrived.
When the Horned King kidnaps Henwen, Terran needs to save her. With the help of Princess Eloinwi, a bard named Fleur de Flamme, and a creature named Gurgi, Terran will try to save the world of Prydain from the Horned King. Terran and his friends embark on a quest to find the dark magic Black Cauldron, the item of ultimate power, before the diabolical tyrant Horned King can. When the movie was released in 1985, Princess Eloinwi and Terran made occasional appearances at the Disney parks. There's almost no proof that these characters walked the parks, but they did for a while. Sadly, the film was a major box office disaster, which led to a loss for the studio, putting Walt Disney Feature Animation near to bankruptcy, and almost every trace of the movie was removed quickly from the parks. In 1986, at Walt Disney World, Lancer's Inn was renamed Gurgi's Munchies and Crunchies, and the place was redecorated with scenes from the movie. But eventually, in 1993, it was closed and remodeled again. The only other time that this movie was featured in Disney parks was when Tokyo Disneyland opened Cinderella Castle Mystery Tour, which was a walkthrough attraction where one of Disney's scariest animatronics, the Horned King, made an appearance. Sadly, this attraction closed in 2006, and we haven't seen any of these characters ever since. Oliver and Company. Oliver and Company was the 27th Disney animated feature film to be released. This movie was an adaptation of the Charles Dickens novel Oliver Twist, where Oliver was an orphan kitten who met a dog named Dodger and joined his gang of dogs. The gang was made up of Tito the Chihuahua, Einstein the Great Dane, Rita the Saluki, Francis the Bulldog, and their leader, a pickpocket named Fagin, who is indebted to a loan shark named Sykes. Oliver then meets Jenny, who adopts him, but Georgette, the family's French poodle, is not happy about it.
Well, it may be Jenny's house, but everything from the doorknobs down is mine!
Oh, Georgette, I see you met Oliver. Isn't he cute? I've got great news. Mom and Dad just said I could keep him.
The dogs think he was kidnapped and save him. Fagin sees Oliver's new collar and decides to ask for ransom from the family to pay his debt, but then feels bad about doing it and gives Oliver back to Jenny without asking for the ransom. Sykes sees this and decides to kidnap Jenny. Thankfully, Fagin and the dog save her, and everything turns out okay. This amazing movie became the animated film with the highest gross from its initial run, and its success prompted Disney's Senior Vice President of Animation, Peter Schneider, to announce the company's plans to release animated features annually. After the movie came out, Oliver made many appearances around the parks, usually accompanied by Dodger and sometimes Jenny, Tito, Francis, and Georgette. They had special meet and greets and appeared in numerous parades like the State Fair Parade at Disneyland or the 1988 Christmas Parade at Disney World. The characters started being slowly retired from the parks, and by late 1990, they couldn't be found. In 2005, at the opening of Hong Kong Disneyland, Oliver and Dodger made a special appearance. Atlantis. Atlantis: The Lost Empire tells the story of Milo Thatch, a cartographer and a linguist who is desperately trying to find the lost city of Atlantis but can't seem to find the funds to do it. Luckily, he meets Preston B. Whitmore, an eccentric millionaire who is interested in funding his voyage. He sets out to find Atlantis with a crew, and they find the lost city. There, he meets Princess Kida, who shows him around Atlantis, and together they uncover the nature of the heart of Atlantis. It turns out, the crew are mercenaries and are there to take the Atlanteans' crystals and sell them. Milo berates the crew for betraying their consciences, and ultimately convinces them to leave Rourke, the leader of the mercenaries, and remain in Atlantis. And they all work together with the Atlanteans to stop Rourke, who has taken Kida. Milo and the others successfully retrieve and fly the crystal back to the city. In the end, the crew members return to the surface and promise to keep the discovery of Atlantis a secret. Having fallen in love with Kida, Milo becomes the new king of Atlantis, along with Kida as the new queen, and stays behind to help her rebuild the Lost Empire. This movie is amazing, but sadly it had a disappointing box office performance. However, these characters have appeared numerous times at the parks. When the film was first released, Milo and Kida appeared as walk-around characters, sometimes joined by Vinny and Mole, but they were retired after a few years. Kida and Milo also appeared in the Disney Stars and Motorcars Parade, in a car designed after a Ketak for the first year of that parade's run, before their float was replaced after a few years. After a several-year absence from the parks, Kida and the other Atlantis characters made a reappearance at Disneyland Paris during the Disney Dreamers Everywhere event in 2013. They also made a reappearance during the 2018 Disney Fan Days inaugural party at Disneyland Paris, and they have not been seen regularly since then. Meet the Robinsons. When Disney bought Pixar back in 2006, Meet the Robinsons was in development. One of the biggest changes that came from this merge was that John Lasseter became the head of both Disney Animation and Pixar. When Lasseter watched one of the screenings of the movie, he thought that the villain was not what he had expected and asked for him to be completely rewritten. And that's how they came up with Bowler Hat Guy, a much better villain that had a dinosaur sidekick. Meet the Robinsons is loosely based on the children's book A Day with Wilbur Robinson. This movie is one of the most underrated Disney movies there is, having some amazing characters that had to come to the Disney parks. The first time that Wilbur, Lewis, and Bowler Hat Guy appeared at the parks was back in 2007, at the Magic of Disney Animation in the Animation Courtyard at Disney's Hollywood Studios. They used to meet guests frequently there, but because the movie was not a success, they were quickly replaced by Remy and Emile from Ratatouille. In 2008, these characters were taken to Toon Studio at Walt Disney Studios Park in Disneyland Paris, where they also meet with guests. But as time went by, they appeared less and less. Then in 2012, they were there for Disneyland Paris's Halloween celebration, and in 2013 for the Disney Dreamers Everywhere event. As we can see, these characters have appeared more frequently at Disneyland Paris, but in 2014, Disney decided to kick off the summer with a special 24-hour event at the Magic Kingdom in Orlando and the Rock Your Disney Side event at Disneyland. During both of these events, Bowler Hat Guy made some appearances in Tomorrowland. Bowler Hat Guy came back that same year during the Villains Unleashed event, where he appeared along with another 50 villains. Lewis and Wilbur's last appearance at the parks was during the 2018 Fan Days event at Disneyland Paris. Nowadays, they are nowhere to be seen, but Bowler Hat Guy can still be found in the Boo to You parade during Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. Bolt! Bolt was the first movie from the Disney revival, a new time for Disney, where the studio came up with movies like The Princess and the Frog and Tangled. This movie tells the story of Bolt, a little white shepherd puppy who, along with Penny, his human best friend, stars in a TV series. This series tells the story of a dog that has superpowers and fights crime. Bolt doesn't know that he's an actor, and he truly believes that he has superpowers. So of course, when he gets lost during the film, this creates all types of trouble for him. Bolt needs to find his way home, and thankfully he meets two friends along the way. Mittens, who is a pretty smart kitty, and Rhino, who is Bolt's biggest fan. Together, they find the way home and live happily ever after. Bolt, Mittens, and Rhino appeared at the parks in 2008. You could hang out with all three of them back then. But after this meet and greet was retired, Rhino became a pretty rare character and hasn't been seen a lot since then. Bolt and Mittens also appeared at the 2008 Christmas Fantasy Parade on a special float. But after this, Mittens also became a rare character. She appeared with Bolt at the Fan Days event in Disneyland Paris, where they appeared in the inaugural parade and as meet and greet characters. Bolt can still be found around Walt Disney World. He appears at Epcot in American Adventure, and he also makes lots of appearances at dance parties. He was also present in 2013 in the Dog Days of Summer show, where he appeared with Stitch, Pluto, and Doug. We would like to thank Squarespace again for sponsoring this video. If you haven't used Squarespace yet, we suggest you go ahead and check it out. They have an amazing, easy-to-use platform where you can create the perfect website for your specific needs using any of the great templates they offer. It's super easy to use. Be sure to use our code to get 10% off your first Squarespace order. Just head to Squarespace, start your free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/fastpassfacts and save 10% off your first purchase.